Hello everyone. I suppose in advance of the return to play, we felt it would be a good idea to maybe just give you a quick overview of the return to play protocols, and we've included some hurling and football sessions for non-contact sessions for 9 and 12-year-olds. So my own name is John Quinn, and David Robson will be going through the football drills with you in a little while. Okay, we would hope that this presentation will be of some benefit to you to help you on the roadmap to returning to play. I'm aware that a lot of you would have went through this already on the last time, but again, it's no harm to refresh the memories. So first of all, just on the return to play, we'll go through some of the key points and some of I suppose, the format that you need to take in terms of reporting and that. And then we just briefly skip over the actual slides, because in your own good time, you can have a look at them. And if there's any questions, of course, you can come back to myself and David, or even Owen Bernock, okay, and Barry Dunn. So each person participating in the Gaelic Games must complete a health questionnaire, answering some of the basic health-related questions prior to the first occasion that they return to activity with their club or the county. And then they must also reconfirm that their health status hasn't changed on each subsequent occasion after that. The forms can be accessed by visiting the URLI or the URL. Either of these two will get you to the actual website and the link. This is just an example of what you will see when it comes up. Most of you who have used this before, you will just have seen the return to play, where it's now under the heading Foireann. So again, this is just how to access the system. And again, there's a little bit of details there that if you have forgotten your password, you can just log on to either of these two URLs and they'll send you a new password to continue. Some bullet points we just felt that it was necessary just to outline, so as to give you, just a brief synopsis of some of the protocols that you have to adhere to. The training has to be in the form of non-contact, pods of 15 players, one parent or one guardian per child or per family where it's deemed necessary. That doesn't mean that there has to be a guardian or a family member with each child, but you are allowed to actually have one. Adhere to public health guidelines by not congregating in groups, and this is particularly relevant to parents when you're dropping off the kids, that you just leave the children there and go into the training and then head away yourselves and come back and collect them at a different stage. The opening of the dressing rooms are not permitted, except for the case where they need to be used for toilet purposes. Okay, so there'll be no changing of gear indoors and that. So if it is raining, just be conscious of that they'll arrive and they won't be able to go into the dressing rooms out of the conditions. There should be hand sanitizer station available for all participants at each of the grounds, and that is up to the club to make sure that facility is there and available to people. And then the slitters and footballs should be cleaned after each training session, just to wipe down, sanitize them, so that if they're being used for another group of players after, that they've already been cleaned. The facilities themselves, as we said, there should be visible signage and emphasis on the hygiene, and to avoid handshaking and spitting in that. Hand gel dispensers should be available to all people. Pitch access is available to players and coaches only. The toilets, as we said, there is a higher risk of contamination, so they should be cleaned on a regular basis. Okay, as I said, a lot of this is self-explanatory, and there should really be no problems with them. There should be a COVID supervisor present at all the sessions, just to record, to make sure that everyone has recorded that there is no case where parents feel that there might be an issue with the child having contracted COVID or something like that. And again, it's just to have any of the COVID module completed in the last 12 months, which again, you will see as the slides go on what to do. And we've just listed some of the main duties here that you need to be aware of as well. The staying safe, the 6 rules to follow. Again, they're ones that we're all very familiar with at this stage: the washing of the hands, the masks, the avoid touching eyes and nose, etc., etc. Some additional resources, if people are interested in looking for them. There's webinars on completing the health questionnaire. There's posters for club facilities, and then the latest updates you will find on the learning.ga website as well. This is basically the return to play system. So I'm not going to go through each slide here. As I said, you can just take your time and go through this at your own pace. And if there's any particular questions you need to ask that you're not sure of, please don't hesitate to contact us. So they're really the protocols that have to be adhered to, and just to familiarize yourself with it and to make sure that all your coaches and that are quite familiar with it. So, you know, this recording will be going up on YouTube as well, but you can also send the link out to any of your coaches. So I just briefly go through some of the hurling sessions. They're aimed at the 9 to 12-year-olds, and they're all on the basis of non-contact. So if you take the first one there, and the diagram is there, it's just about dividing the players into pairs and having them just throwing across the ball to each other, so that little distractions while they're catching the ball, it helps them to focus on it and concentrate. And then you can improve the drill by just looking at the basic drill can be progressed to players throwing 2 skittles over and back to each other. Again, they're very self-explanatory and don't need an awful lot of explanation. So just kind of take your time, go through them and be familiar with them before you go to the training session. Another one, this is based again on the overhead catch and the move. And it's just in pairs, they form a kind of 3-cone triangle. And the player throws the ball up high in between the cones so that the other player is running on and catching the ball as they're moving and hopefully kind of jumping and catching at the same time. And they can just challenge themselves with the amount of slitters they can catch in whatever time that the coach allows. So whether it be 30 seconds or a minute. This is just one again for the soloing, and as you see, they really are non-contact. They're just drills, but again, it'll keep the kids going. So just set it up as in the diagram. It's just a solo and running in and out the cones, and then strike the ball back to the next partner. And the only thing I would say in something like this, if you have pods, if you're working with pods of 15, maybe set out 5 different, I suppose, setups so that you have only 3 kids in a line rather than having 15 kids all waiting to go their turn, which is important that they're active the whole time. And again, you can just use it, maybe one player following the other, just token resistance, so they're not tackling, but it just enhances and improves the level of skill. This one here, it's just about striking. So what you're asking the players to do is they're in pairs and they go down whatever it is, 45, 50 meters, whatever length you decide, and they're just striking the ball as they're moving. So each pair follows the other, making sure you give them a little bit of time in between them so that if they miss the ball, they'll have to go and retrieve it and you won't have other players coming up on top of them. And then when they get to the end of whatever distance you want them to go, they turn around and they come back to it. So whoever was striking the ball off their left side on the way up will be striking the ball off the right side on the way back. And it just gives them a flavour of striking the ball on the move and getting direction and passing the ball. So again, it's quite a good drill for them. This one here is basically just controlling the moving the ball. Again, what you're trying to do here is get the child to move to the ball. So rather than standing waiting for the ball to come to them, when the ball is struck, they have to move to it and try and control the ball before it passes the marker that you're after setting out. And then you can increase or decrease the distance that they have to travel to collect the ball to. So you might decide to put the cone only 3 meters, or you might move it out to 6 meters, which means they have to move earlier, etc. And then this one here, it's literally just a shooting drill, and you can set it up with basically on 2 goals. So you could have 4 groups working at the one time and just one group against the other. And it's literally to just solo through to the cones, strike the ball on their own, whether they go for a point or you can put a goalkeeper on and they can go for a goal. But again, it's just to keep them active, and it kind of teaches them basically the skill of striking the ball on their own and striking that a target rather than just hitting it for the sake of hitting it. So basically, I'm going to hand over to Dave now, who's going to take you through some of the football drills. And again, if there's any questions, you can come back to us on it. Thanks, David. Take over.
Thanks, John. Okay, so I was just following on from John. It's basically like to stay in line with the COVID and keep things right when we get back to the field next week. Okay, so the first is just return to play football, and it's just a simple session of warm-up drills that you can do with the 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and it's just jog, skip, side to side, heels up, knees, but it's just all the fundamental movements, you know, and try use the ball as much as we can in the session, whether it's hurling or football, and just a simple example of it there. Okay, you player behind the cones, 3 players behind the cones, don't have more than 3, and just warm up with the ball, and players in a circle, and they're just moving the ball in and out the circle thrown to a partner. The second one then is this activity 1, really. It's just a hand pass in pairs. They pass the ball to a partner a mile on the run, so you're trying to get them moving the whole time, 5 meters apart inside the square, and they're practice off the both hands. So if they do 30 seconds on the right hand, then do 30 seconds on the left hand, and just keep moving the whole time. Activity 2, and then just moving it on a bit from the hand pass again. Okay, the hand pass, the condition game. So we're in a square again, 10 meters grid square. We're trying to get 2 on 2, so we're still not hitting off one another. We're still not physical tackling, and so it's 2 versus 2, and we're trying to keep the ball. And after 3, then we just change over. Okay, and again, you're trying to get the kids to hand pass the ball on their right hand or on their left hand, and staying inside the square. Activity 3 then is just a punt kick. So divide the group into pairs, 1 ball per pair, mark out a channel. So the pair, they're trying to punt kick the ball through the channel, approximately 10 meters apart. And we're trying encouragement again off their left and their right. And then just to make it a little bit harder, increase the distance as we go on, and the same off your left and off your right the whole time. Activity 4 then is the hook kick, and it's just a target game for the kids. It's just to have a little bit of fun, maybe at the start of the training session or at the end. And it's the same thing again. You place 4 cones in a square, and then you put a circle inside the square. So you can just mark out the circle with smaller cones inside the square, and then just move 15, 20 meters out. So you divide the group into 2, and they start, and they try and hook kick the ball into the square. So if they get 1 point if they get it into the square, and 3 points if it lands inside the circle. And again, we're trying to do it off our left and off our right, and increase it each time. So we start on 15 meters, move to 20 meters and 25 meters. So it's just a fun game, maybe at the end of the training session, just to get them. Okay. The next one is the hand pass with a bit of pressure onto it. So again, we're practicing the hand pass technique requires the players to catch and pass in different directions. So the organisation of it again is divide the teams into 4. Players act as feeders with 1 ball. The 4th player acts as a central player. The central player must take and return a pass for each player and turn set period. So the player is in the circle for 30 seconds. He's trying to get as many passes as he can off to his teammates, and his teammates are putting him under pressure by giving him the ball a little bit faster. And even if you want to add in maybe a tackler in there as well, you know, just a token pressure on him, you can also add that into it. And just the context ourselves. So we hope you get something out of the presentation today on the return to play and the simple sessions. Obviously, there's hundreds of sessions out there you can do yourself and make them up as you go along, but just adhere to the COVID regulations. And please contact any of us here if you have any more queries on COVID or on return to play. So thanking you again.